For more than 2 decades, Cleopatra ruled as Queen of Egypt, cementing her place in history as one of the most powerful women in the ancient world. But while her legend has endured through the ages, one unanswered question remains. Where was she buried? Experts have been searching for Cleopatra's lost tomb for centuries. Now, though, archaeologists may be on the cusp of solving the mystery once and for all. Experts believe they are getting closer to finding Cleopatra's lost tomb. Today, Cleopatra is remembered as a beautiful temptress who counted Julius Caesar and Mark Antony among her lovers. Apocryphally, she met her end committing suicide by means of a poisonous snake. So where was Cleopatra buried? Was it, as some believe, in a tomb in Alexandria, a site that has long been lost beneath the ocean waves? Or was it somewhere else entirely, in a location that may yet be uncovered? Interestingly, the story is unfolding not in Alexandria, but rather in Cleopatras Magna, a ruined city which is located some 30 miles to the west of the one-time Egyptian capital. In recent times, though, some scholars have argued that the city was an important trading hub as well, standing as it did on the shores of Lake Mariot. With its name meaning Great Tomb of Osiris, the citadel of Cleopatras Magna was dominated by a huge temple that was dedicated to the Egyptian god of death. According to ancient Egyptian lore, Osiris and Isis were both siblings and spouses, so it makes sense that these temples would have been located very close to each other. Born in Alexandria in either 69 or 70 BC, Cleopatra was the daughter of Ptolemy XII Auletes. This meant that she was a direct descendant of the founder of Cleopatras Magna. In fact, when Cleopatra was a girl, the Ptolemaic dynasty was already beginning to unravel, with her older sister Berenice plotting to seize the throne from their father. Eventually, though, her plot was foiled. Initially, Cleopatra was destined to share the throne with Ptolemy XIII, her younger brother. But it seemed that the pair could never see eye to eye, and soon the queen was forced into exile. Hoping to impress the powerful Caesar, Ptolemy XIII had arranged for Pompey's assassination during a visit to Egypt. But this tactic didn't work, and he only succeeded in incurring the wrath of Rome. According to contemporary accounts, Cleopatra embarked on an affair with Caesar, convincing him to side with her. And with his help, she deposed her brother. But Caesar's own reign would eventually come to a brutal and bloody end. In 44 BC, he was assassinated by a group of senators who had grown tired of his dictatorial rule. Over in Rome, an uneasy coalition formed between Caesar's adopted son Octavian and the Roman generals Mark Antony and Marcus Aemilius Lepidus. Assigned control over the eastern kingdoms of the Republic, Antony soon encountered the beautiful queen. It's said there was instant chemistry between them. But this peace was not to last. Despite his marriage to Octavia, Antony embarked on an affair with Cleopatra, fathering a total of 3 children with the Egyptian queen. Reportedly, Octavian had been paranoid about Cleopatra's growing influence on her lover. And under his direction, the Roman Senate turned against Antony, calling him a traitor and declaring war against Egypt. With Octavian victorious, Antony fled to Egypt. But with his enemy hot on his heels, he must have been all too aware that he was probably living on borrowed time. But, of course, Cleopatra was not actually dead, at least not yet. With her lover gone, the story goes, she heard rumors that Octavian planned to kidnap her. If this version of events is true, it represented an incredibly symbolic end for the legendary queen. After all, what the ancient Egyptians referred to as an asp was probably a type of cobra. On top of that, the asp was also used to symbolize royalty in ancient Egyptian art. Perhaps it's not surprising, then, that the story of the queen's poetic death has endured through the ages. In other words, most people have an idea of how Cleopatra allegedly died, even more than 2,000 years after the fact. So why, then, does nobody seem to know where she was buried? According to some, that's because Cleopatra had been buried in Alexandria, the place of her birth. And in 365 AD a violent tsunami devastated the city, killing thousands. But not everyone believes that Cleopatra's tomb disappeared along with her palace. In fact, there are some who doubt that she was ever buried in Alexandria at all. And that's where amateur archaeologist Kathleen Martinez joins the story. For Martinez, who trained in criminal law rather than archaeology, finding the queen's final resting place has become something of a lifelong quest. Speaking to CNN in 2022, she explained, "My perseverance cannot be confused with obsession." She was an educated woman, probably the first one who studied formally at the museum in Alexandria, the center of culture in her time, Martinez continued. But as she studied Cleopatra's life and death, she felt elements of her story weren't quite adding up. After all, Martinez reasoned, Cleopatra had always identified with the goddess Isis, while Antony had been considered the human incarnation of Osiris. That would have made Cleopatra Magna an appealing setting for their tomb. Although the ruined city had been first excavated by Napoleon back in the 18th century, through the years the Egyptian authorities had generally considered insignificant. After all, the country's not exactly short of ancient sites ripe for exploration. In the years since, reports claim, Martinez has excavated almost 30 tombs at the site. And although she hasn't yet found Cleopatra's grave, she has uncovered plenty of evidence to support her claims. And in another nod to Cleopatra's alter ego, Martinez and her team have also uncovered a smaller temple within the complex, this time dedicated to the goddess Isis herself. With the discovery of a hoard of coins with Cleopatra's portrait on them, and other Greco-Roman period finds, not the least fragments of statuary and mummies, we can certainly say that Cleopatra Magna was active during Cleopatra's reign, Egyptologist Glenn Goddenhoe told Live Science in 2020. Interestingly, some of the finds seem to counteract beliefs about Cleopatra that have emerged in recent years. With the ability of modern technology to build facial reconstructions of the queen, it's been argued that she hadn't been quite as beautiful as legend would have it. In 2019, reports emerged that a team led by Julius were on the cusp of locating Cleopatra's tomb. But the story turned out to be raising false hopes. Her tomb will never be found, Julius told website Live Science at the time. But despite his enduring doubts, Martinez herself remains convinced that Cleopatra Magna is the true location of the long-dead queen's remains. At more than 4,000 feet long and 6.5 feet high and constructed at a depth of 43 feet, the tunnel represents an incredible piece of engineering. The most interesting discovery is the complex of tunnels leading to the Mediterranean Sea and sunken structures, Martinez told CNN. And while she admitted that the team don't yet know where these tunnels lead, she remained hopeful that they are linked to Cleopatra. According to reports, the next stage of Martinez's efforts will involve some underwater exploration. Like Alexandria, you see, much of Cleopatra Magna has since been swamped. Despite the cynicism of experts such as Julius, then, Martinez will not be giving up anytime soon. Even way back in 2009, she had explained her dedication to the quest. For the time being, though, the location of Cleopatra's tomb remains an unsolved mystery. In fact, historians can't even seem to agree on how she died, let alone where she was buried. What's more, it seems unlikely that Cleopatra's maids could have smuggled a large snake to their mistress in captivity without anyone noticing. So is this part of the story little more than a romantic invention? Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.